Margaret Collins had worked as a housekeeper for nearly 30 years. At 58, her blonde hair was still bright, though she now wore it pulled back with a simple white headband. Her uniform, a modest gray dress with white trim, had been pressed that morning with the same care she brought to everything she did. The autumn sunlight filtered through the tall windows of the Hartford estate, casting golden patterns across the mahogany furniture. Margaret moved quietly through the library, her practiced hands straightening books and dusting shelves with movements so gentle they barely disturbed the air. On the leather sofa near the window, Mr. Robert Hartford appeared to be sleeping. He was 62, a successful businessman who had built his company from nothing over 4 decades. Recently widowed, he had retreated to this country home, seeking peace after a lifetime of noise. Margaret had noticed the change in him over the past months. The confident stride had slowed. The ready smile came less often. She understood grief. She had lost her own husband 10 years before. As she worked, she noticed something on the side table near where Mr. Hartford lay. His reading glasses had fallen to the floor. His medication bottles were scattered, the afternoon dose still waiting to be taken. And there, tucked beneath a book, the corner of a photograph peeked out. Margaret paused. She glanced at Mr. Hartford. His breathing was steady, his eyes closed. But something about the set of his shoulders, the slight tension in his hands, made her wonder. Still, it wasn't her place to question. She moved to the round table where she'd been organizing some papers. Mr. Hartford had left several bills there, along with what looked like bank statements. Margaret never pried into her employer's affairs, but as she gathered them neatly together, she couldn't help but notice the letter on top. It was from the Children's Hospital downtown. A donation receipt, $5,000. Then another one. And another. All dated within the past few months, each to a different charity. Margaret's throat tightened. She thought of the rumors she'd heard in town, that Mr. Hartford was struggling financially, that the company was having difficulties. The house staff had been reduced to just her and the groundskeeper. The grand dinner parties had stopped. She looked again at those receipts. While cutting his own household expenses, he was still giving to others. Quietly, Margaret reached into her apron pocket. Inside was an envelope, her wages from the previous week. She looked at it for a long moment, then at Mr. Hartford on the sofa. She thought of her daughter, who wanted help with the grandchildren's school fees. She thought of her own small apartment, where the heater was failing as winter approached. The money in that envelope represented security, comfort, practical necessities. But she also thought of something her mother had told her long ago. Kindness isn't something we can afford to do. It's something we can't afford not to do. With careful movements, Margaret opened the envelope and took out several bills. She placed them quietly on the table next to the charity receipts, weighted down with a heavy book so they wouldn't blow away. She didn't count them. It didn't matter. Then she retrieved Mr. Hartford's glasses from the floor, cleaned them with a soft cloth from her pocket, and placed them within easy reach on the side table. She organized his medication bottles, pouring a glass of water from the pitcher and setting it beside them. The photograph that had been partially hidden, she drew it out gently. It showed a younger Mr. Hartford with a beautiful woman and 2 small children, all smiling on a beach somewhere. His late wife, she realized. His children, now grown and living far away. Margaret's eyes misted. She understood that kind of loneliness, the ache of missing someone who had been your companion through life. She found a clean handkerchief in her apron, one she'd embroidered herself with small blue flowers, and placed it near the photograph. "For the memories that make us cry," she whispered, so softly she barely heard herself. "They're precious, too." She gathered her cleaning supplies, ready to move to the next room. But before she left, she did one more thing. From her other pocket, she pulled out a small, wrapped package, a slice of apple cake she'd baked that morning. She'd brought it thinking to have it with her tea later, but she left it on the table with a brief note written on the back of a shopping list. "Thought you might enjoy this with your afternoon coffee? MC." As Margaret turned to leave, she heard the slightest sound, a catch of breath, barely audible. "Margaret." Mr. Hartford's voice was quiet, roughened with emotion. "Please, wait." She turned. He was sitting up now, and she could see his eyes were wet. "Sir, I'm sorry if I disturbed you. I tried to be quiet. You didn't disturb me." He stood slowly, moving to the table. He looked at the money she'd left, at the handkerchief, at the small package of cake. His hand trembled slightly as he picked up the money. "You can't—" "Margaret, this is your wages. You earned this. So did you earn yours, sir. And you've been sharing it with people who need it more." She met his eyes steadily. "I'm just doing the same. But you have your own family, your own needs." "I do," she agreed. "And I'm fortunate enough to be able to share. That's a blessing, not a burden." Mr. Hartford sat down heavily in one of the chairs. "I thought I was being so careful," he said quietly. "Not wanting people to know the company was struggling. Not wanting pity. It's not pity I feel," Margaret said gently. She took a seat across from him, something she'd never done in all her years of service, but somehow it felt right now. "It's respect. You've been taking care of others even when things are hard for you. That's character, Mr. Hartford. That's grace." He was silent for a long moment. "My wife used to say that," he finally spoke. "That how we treat people when things are difficult shows who we really are." She sounds like she was a wise woman. She was. He touched the photograph. "I miss her terribly. And the children? They have their own lives now. I don't want to burden them with my troubles." "Being needed isn't a burden," Margaret said softly. "It's a gift. I learned that when my husband passed. I thought I had to do everything alone, had to be strong. But when I finally let my daughter help me, when I let friends be there for me, that's when I truly healed." They sat together in the golden afternoon light. Two people who had both known loss, both known struggle, both known the quiet power of carrying on. "Would you stay for tea?" Mr. Hartford asked. "And perhaps share that cake with me? It seems too much for one person." Margaret smiled, the kind of smile that comes from deep within. "I'd be honored, sir." "Robert," he said. "Please." "Call me Robert." "Then you should call me Margaret. Just Margaret." As she went to prepare the tea, she heard him on the phone in the next room. "Yes, honey, it's Dad. I know it's been a while. I was wondering if you and the kids might come visit next month. I've missed you. No, everything's fine. Actually, everything's better than it's been in a long time." When Margaret returned with the tea tray, Robert was looking out the window, and she could see his shoulders had relaxed, the tension finally leaving his frame. "Thank you," he said as she poured. "Not just for today, for seeing me." "Really seeing me?" "We all need to be seen," Margaret replied. "We all need to know we matter." They spent that afternoon talking about their families, their losses, their hopes. They shared the apple cake and drank tea as the autumn sun painted the room in shades of amber and gold. It wasn't a dramatic moment. There were no grand gestures or life-changing revelations. It was simply two people choosing kindness in a world that often felt too hard, choosing connection over isolation, choosing to see the humanity in each other. And sometimes, that's the most profound thing of all. The money Margaret had left was quietly returned to her envelope the next week, along with a bonus she hadn't expected. But more than that, she had gained something she hadn't known she needed, a friendship built on mutual respect and understanding. As for Robert, he learned that vulnerability isn't weakness, that accepting help is as important as giving it, and that sometimes the people